Hey everybody, hope your day is going well. We are back here with another reaction, and we're going to watch this video, The Overlooked Anomalies in the Beatles Abbey Road Medley. And this is on the You Can't Unhear This YouTube channel. Link is in the description. Check it out if you haven't. I've reacted to some videos already, and it's cool to hear some of the behind the scenes stories or some of the anomalies in the track that sometimes are barely audible to the casual listener, but they kept it in, which is really cool. I love that you kind of know these little things that sometimes happen, or ghost instruments or things that are picked up by another mic and they left it in. And it's like, yeah, that's what it's about. It doesn't all have to be perfect. And usually, the casual listener like me here won't really hear those things anyway, unless someone points them out. And of course, I've heard the Abbey Road medley. I reacted to it when I almost didn't have any knowledge of the Beatles. I couldn't really distinguish Paul's and John's voice, without video. And since then, I've become such a big fan, and now I know a little bit more about their music, and I've heard Abbey Road and listened to it a few times on a road trip. Just let it play and enjoy the music, and yeah, fantastic album. It's just on another level. All right, let's go.
The 15 minutes of music that make up the B-side medley of the Beatles' Abbey Road album is one of the most spectacular, engrossing sequences in all of recorded music. Up there with the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony or Kind of Blue by
Oh,
Miles Davis. For the fascinating story about how the medley came together, pardon the Abbey Road pun, check out the link in the description below to watch my first ever collaboration with Lance Osborne, creator of the
oh.
very entertaining and very informative Beatles-related channel Fab4 Archivist.
Oh, I'm gonna have to keep that one in mind.
Over here on my channel, as usual, I'm going to point out some of the oddities and anomalies of the first part of the Abbey Road B-side medley. And as a fair warning, once I point them out, you can't unhear this. Curiously, a number of the anomalies I'll point out were eliminated in the 2019 remix of Abbey Road, which raises an interesting question. Were these simply unintentional mistakes that slipped through back in 1969? The first track of the medley, You Never Give Me Your Money, has a couple of weird little anomalies.
You only give me a funny paper. But yeah, like I said, the first time I checked it out, I didn't have that emotional weight. Carry that weight. I didn't carry that weight yet about what it meant to have that, like, oh, this is the final thing they recorded. And now that I really went through all of their albums and then went back to it, is an entirely different thing, right? Yeah, now I feel a little bit of that impact. Of course, it's not the same as if you actually lived through it when you were there, or when you were following them since you were young. But still, I kind of like, oh, this is, yeah. Now it definitely gets me emotional when hearing this.
The first track of the medley, You Never Give Me Your Money, has a couple of weird little anomalies toward the end. Starting at around 3 minutes 45 seconds during the outro, you can hear random talking in the background behind the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vocals, including someone yelling what sounds like, "Bloody hell." Let's hear it first in the original version of Abbey Road. Now let's listen to the same section from the 2019 remix. You probably noticed that it's gone. For whatever reason, this ghost vocal, probably left over from one of the instrumental backing tracks, was either covered up or removed from the 2019 remix. In its place, there's a series of new guitar notes that weren't audible in the original mix. It's a great example of the creative decision-making that goes into a true remix, which involves taking the original master tracks and creating a mix from them, sometimes altering the way that a song has been heard for decades. Was this creative choice the right call? Let me know what you think in the comments. As the
Good question. Of course, if you've never heard it before, I mean, I like the way things are. No take backsies really. It's the yeah, when you make a mistake, unless if it's really like something that's a manufacturing mistake, or if you order a special edition of an album or a book, and there's like anomalies to that, it's really like, oh no, this is not supposed to be that way. I mean, yeah, sure, replace him, right? Fix that mistake. But this, it has a charm to it, especially when it's been that way for decades. Um, I mean, but perhaps, of course, you know, with streaming, it's different. But if there was still only physical media and you have those versions that contain those anomalies, that can become quite valuable, of course. Same with books and typos. And in the beginning, I have typos in my books and stuff. And then it drives me nuts that people have those. Of course, my books will never be worth anything. But I mean, it's interesting how like famous books, and you track down those versions with the typos in it before the publisher kind of fixed them. Those become so valuable, uh, which at first you kind of like, oh, I can't believe they're still in it. I need to fix these. It's so weird how that changes over time.
Medley moves along. You Never Give Me Your Money rolls right into the next song, Sun King, with a tapestry of sound effects: birds, bells, wind chimes, and crickets. These sound effects had actually been recorded by Paul McCartney at his home and brought into Abbey Road to be assembled into the final mix of the medley. But there's an interesting oddity here. In an early version of the medley, the only link between the two songs was a single organ note. Here's what it originally sounded like. I sort of wonder why they didn't combine both, since both sound actually pretty cool. Which version do you like better, the organ note or the ambient sounds? Let me know in the comments. On the next track in the medley, Mean Mr. Mustard,
I like the
pay
ambient
close attention
sounds.
to the tambourine, which Ringo begins playing at around 8 seconds. It starts out sounding pretty normal. But after around the 30-second mark, you may notice that the tambourine starts to noticeably drop in volume whenever anyone is singing. Thanks to the 2019 5.1 remix, we can listen to the isolated track of the tambourine and vocals, where this phenomenon is even clearer. So what's going on here? Well, there's a couple of possibilities. It could be that Ringo was just striking the tambourine with softer hits on the beats that happen to have vocals. But that seems unlikely, considering that's not how he plays it at all in the first part of the song. One theory suggests that it was lowered during the mixing process. That is, some engineer at the console was lowering the tambourine so as to not overpower the voice track. Yet another theory suggests that it's the effect of a limiter or compressor, which is a piece of studio equipment. Today it might be a software plugin, used to flatten or compress sound above and below a certain decibel level, so that the loud and softer parts are at a more constant volume. Whatever the case may be, it's a quirky, organic studio anomaly that probably wouldn't have ever slid by in a modern recording studio. Moving on to the next song, Polythene Pam. If you listen...
And this one I probably will unhear. He said you can't unhear this, but maybe this one I will.
Closely at around 6 seconds, you can hear a ghost or guide vocal bleeding through quietly in the left channel. Admittedly, it's a bit tough to hear clearly, but thanks to the new 5.1 remix, if I isolate the channel, it's much clearer.
What was that? Shits.
Toward the end of the song, it happens again, as you can hear one of the Beatles counting the measures of the guitar solo leading up to the outro. Well, it's pretty clear even on the final stereo mix of the song. Let's listen to the isolated 5.1 step. Both of these guide vocals were likely picked up by the microphones used to record the instruments during the earlier takes of the song, which was a common practice, as the Beatles often overdubbed their vocal tracks after recording the instrumental backing tracks. If you're interested in learning more about how guide vocals like these sometimes ended up in final mixes, check out the other video on my channel about ghost vocals. As for the last song from the first half of the medley, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, I've always wondered exactly what John was saying during that transition from Polythene Pam. Thanks Thanks to the new 5.1 release, we can finally hear John loud and clear.
Oh, listen to that now.
Huh.
Oh, look out! She came in through the bathroom window.
There's so much more to cover about
Nice.
the medley, but I'm going to save the rest of it for another video.
That one was
To
my
learn
favorite,
more about the
though, huh?
fascinating story behind the medley, I highly encourage you to click the link at the end of the video to check out my special collaboration with fellow Beatles fan Lance Osborne, creator and host of the Fab 4 Archivist channel.
I'm
As
gonna need
always,
to
thanks
check
for
that out.
watching, and please subscribe and share for more episodes of You Can't Unhear This.
Yeah, that was cool. Some of these I will forget, that are not so obvious, like the one in Strawberry Fields Forever. I'm gonna remember that one, and that was cool. And the last one here too, that you can finally, if you've been wondering, like, oh, what was he saying there? I can hear it, and I've been replaying it, but I couldn't make it out. What John was saying, and then, if a mystery like that gets cleared up, it could be that's kind of cool. So yeah, that was nice. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. If you have any other suggestions, let me know. Hope to see you there. Goodbye.